I mean, look at this. Do I need to say anything? Like, this is unbelievable. Like, what trailer is there out there that you can do this in? I'm sitting in front of a lake right now, and it's beautiful. But can you imagine? You pull up to the beach, and you back up Florida, California, maybe you're in Baja, Mexico, and you back right up to the beach. Maybe you're up in the mountains in the Denali in Alaska. Wherever you are, this is incredible. This is a very cool feature that you're not gonna see on any off-road trailer that I'm aware of. This is spectacular. I mean, man, I'm imagining going down to Moab and backing up to a cliff and just enjoying these morning views with a book. The only thing that could ruin this would be bugs. But guess what? Don't worry, we got you covered. Pull down this screen and you just take it all the way down. Use your foot if you need to. Locks in place. Now bugs be gone. There you have it. What a cool feature. You know, Maynard is one of the most innovative people in America when it comes to producing and building trailers. And in this community, in the off-road space, they just, you know, knock it out of the park. Every single year, every single quarter, there's something new. And today, I'm gonna be going and walking you around this all new 2025 Reboot. This is the 17.4. This is going to be a long tour, so sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, get ready. I'm gonna show you this thing from front to back, top to bottom, and hopefully educate you in the process. So if you are interested in buying one of these trailers, you'll be able to be well equipped after this video is over. Let's get into this. Welcome, I'm Shane with ROA Off-Road. If you want to see one of these trailers, you can come to one of our stores. We have stores all over the US now, mostly in the West. We have a store in Colorado Springs, Utah, just south of Salt Lake, Mesa, Arizona, and South Carolina, just outside of Greenville. Reach out to us and you can come see this trailer in person, and you will be blown away because the videos never quite do it justice. I feel like we try pretty hard, but in person is spectacular. Also, we are gonna be going to a lot of shows this year, and we're gonna be showing off this trailer and a lot of those shows. So go to our website, roaoffroad.com or rvsofamerica.com. You can go to the events page and you can see the upcoming events where we're gonna be at. We're gonna be taking this unit. This will be one of the units on display, but just check ahead because sometimes we can't bring all of our units. But I wanna walk around this unit. As you can see, this does have a rear deck. Down below, there's actually a decking down here. This is a marine grade decking, so similar to what you're gonna get on a ski boat or a yacht. Also, it's gonna be weatherproof, weather resistant. You can see the previous tour of this trailer did not have all the decking stuff done yet. We have an entire fencing around this, so you can potentially have the kiddos or a dog come and hang out here. As we come down here, we have a nice handrail. This is an addition that's been added since our last tour. I'm pretty excited to go through this trailer. Like I mentioned, this is an all new 2025 model, and with Pause and Maynard, one of the things that Maynard frequently says is always improving, never satisfied. As we go around, I'm gonna point out some of the new features on this unit, talk about some of the improvements that they've made, because, well, Pause, they're never satisfied with just the status quo. They're always trying to make all their products better. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, welcome. I'm gonna go into a lot of detail on everything from top to bottom. So let's start with talking about the model number. This is a 17.4. The box is about 17 feet. It actually measures around 17 feet and 11 inches, and that's the actual box itself. The 0.4 stands for how many it sleeps. So it does have a queen bed inside. It is an east-west, that means side-to-side queen bed. And then the back area that we started in is a booth that drops down into around a queen size bed as well. And so you have 2 queen size beds, so comfortably you can sleep 4 adults or a family of 4. Now I'm going to talk about some of the specs right up front. The exterior height with the air conditioning and the suspension in the lowered position is 10 foot 9 inches. And of course, one of the incredible things about the suspension on this thing is it has close to 12 inches of travel. Yes, it actually has more travel than a Brooder, if you've ever heard of those trailers. This is made in America and has more travel. The full width is 8 foot 5 inches, and the box width is 7 foot 5 inches. So the width is that overall width is gonna include things like awnings and any type of vent covers. Now let's talk about tank sizes. You're gonna have 65 gallons of fresh water, which is a lot of water, especially for a travel trailer. You know, we're talking big, giant fifth wheels and motorhomes sometimes don't even have that much. The black and gray are 30 gallons. Now, a lot of people might say, oh my gosh, a black tank, off-road trailers should have other options, and they do. That's one of the unique things about working with ROA Off-Road is we can retrofit lots of different toilet options for you. We do that all the time. We put incinerators, we put lavios, we put composting toilets, and all of them are unique and good in their own way. Another thing that I want to point out, and this unit right here, I'm going to talk about some of the weights. There's a lot of options with Pause and the Reboots. And because of that, the dry weights can vary quite a bit, anywhere from 1,000 pounds. So if you go a totally bare bones stock model, you're going to be around 6,200 pounds dry weight. Now, if you go fully loaded, which this unit right here is fully loaded, you could be as high as 7,300 pounds. And this one weighs in at 7,348 pounds. The overall length, and this is going to be the tip, so the very tip of the hitch to the very back of the trailer is 22 feet and 4 inches. And this gets weighed on every single trailer. So if you were to buy a trailer, this would be the weight, your trailer weight. Another thing is the gross vehicle weight is previously, it was 8,600 pounds. The new 2025 models, the frame has been reinforced, so it allows a little bit higher cargo capacity. Like I said, they're always doing things to improve the trailer. And I'm going to really do a full tour, but I just want to point out some of the new features that you didn't see in the previous model year. And this is one that you didn't see in our previous tour. They've moved all the electronic components to this compartment door, so you have the easy access to get to your fuses, your breakers, and this stuff is incredible. A lot of people don't understand the significance of everything you're seeing here, but this is a lot of money sitting just right here. And behind it is 1,080 amp hours of battle-born lithium, and that power system, all in all, you're talking $10,000 to $20,000. If you were to go and buy a travel trailer and say, I want this system installed in my trailer, depends on where you go, you could be paying upwards of $20,000. And I just want to say this because a lot of people ask, man, these off-road trailers seem pretty expensive. I can go buy such and such brand and pay $20,000 to $30,000 for the whole trailer. And I say, oh yeah, you can. And that would get pretty much the power system in this Reboot. You know, anywhere from, like I said, $15,000 to $20,000, depending on where you go. Just the cost of the batteries is thousands of dollars. A standard travel trailer is going to put a lead acid deep cycle battery that costs $80 to $90. You can't really compare that with what they have in here. Of course, come stock with every single Pause trailer is your Victron inverter. It's a 3,000 watt inverter. What the inverter does is it allows you to be able to run everything in this trailer completely off grid. Yes, that's correct, everything. If you're brand new to looking at these types of trailers, you may not realize that most travel trailers in America cannot run everything off grid. Most travel trailers in America, you have to go to a campground and you have to plug in. This, you don't have to be plugged in. We're at a campground and there's no outlets where we're at right now, up by the lake, and yet we can still run the microwave, we can run the air conditioner, we can watch TV, and that's because of this system. It has the ability to pull that power from your lithium batteries, which there are 4 lithium batteries for a total of 1,080 amp hours of lithium. That's a lot of power in a little trailer, and a lot of people don't understand that. All of this stuff right here is your solar charge controllers, and one of these is going to be for your roof. The other one is going to be for a briefcase setup, and so you can expand your solar. This stuff right here, this runs a lot of your systems. One of the cool things about this system is it also allows the ability for Victron or us at ROA to wirelessly connect into your trailer and try to find out if you're having an issue, if you're out camping, you can connect this into it. We can remote into the system and we can try to find out if something's going wrong, if something's failed, if there's settings that need to be adjusted or changed. And that is just a very cool system. Not a lot of systems can do that remotely. Right here, this is your Orion XS, and this is a 12 volt to 12 volt. They call it a DC to DC battery charger. And this is the new updated version, which is rated for 50 amps. The previous model year had a 30 amp charger. So once again, this is another upgrade you're going to be seeing in all the 2025 lineups. Let me show you what that 12 volt or DC to DC charger is, because it's very important for you to understand. Up here, there's a port right there. That's a plug. That's called an Anderson connection. And what this does is if you get set up with the tow vehicle, you can run off of your alternator or your battery out to the back of your truck. You can have a similar connection where you can plug this in, and while you're driving down the road, you can potentially send that higher amperage back to your batteries. Now, in America and most standard travel trailers, you're going to be running this guy. This is called a 7-pin connection, and this generally will give you brake lights, flashers, blinkers, and also brakes. And most trailers in America, it will also give you a very small amount of amperage back to your battery, and we're talking trickle charge. This Anderson connection could accept up to 50 amps. It depends on the tow vehicle and what it's going to be pushing out, but if you get that connection, you can potentially put a lot of power into those batteries while you're driving. Now, here at ROA Off-Road, we do install Anderson plugs on your tow vehicle. So if you are coming to pick up the trailer and you want that included, you just would have to reach out to one of our service advisors in South Carolina or Utah. Right now in Arizona and Colorado, we're not installing these, but we will be in the future. But if you do want to get that installed, just let us know and we'll be able to have that set up. So when you leave, you'll have that entire system set up and ready to go. And another little detail that I appreciate is this 7-pin has a nice little slot where it slides into. So when it's not in use, it hangs out there. I've just seen a lot of these pins just dragging down the road. People forget or don't plug them in. I want to talk a little bit about the frame on these trailers, because this is something very unique that you're not going to see on most travel trailers in America or anywhere for that matter. This is a huck riveted aluminum frame. So let me explain a little bit. Most standard trailers are going to be a steel frame, and most manufacturers, if you're lucky, they'll do a powder coated steel frame. A powder coating, it's like a spray paint type of material, right? Or there might be different processes of baking, painting. So anyways, you're gonna get either a powder coated or a painted frame, and essentially steel, when it hits the environment, it starts to decompose immediately. So you'll start getting rust. If you go out to the beach, you are toast. Now, when you're dealing with aluminum, well, aluminum doesn't really corrode and rust the same way steel does. This aluminum frame is going to last longer than your life. Another thing that a lot of people ask about is why, opposed to welding do they huck rivet everything? The reason why MoreRide explains that they went through the process of huck riveting, because all of these frame pieces are sent through a robot, a machine that goes through and laser cuts all of these holes to a precise spot every single time. And then the huck riveted is then put in after the laser does all of its cutting. So you have a consistent frame all the time. And you might say that, well, so why is that so important? You'd be surprised a lot of times when you're dealing with still frames, and especially frames that are not done by robots, a lot of times there's a lot of inconsistency in frames. You also could potentially have bad welds depending on how the welder is filling. So this takes out a lot of the human error in the building of the actual frame. And MoreRide believes the frame is the most important thing, as well as Pause, because it is literally the foundation of your trailer. And if your frame fails, the whole trailer is considered totaled. That is not acceptable. And another thing with huck riveted is also, huck riveted is designed more for vibrations and constant motion and movement. If you look at bridges, semi-trucks, you know, these semi-trucks are supposed to get 1,000,000 miles on them going back and forth across the country. And huck riveted is designed for that constant motion and vibration. And so it's just going to be much more reliable. Now, as we move along, I just want to point out some details. Like this wheel well is unbelievably robust. It's almost 1/8 inch thick metal, and it has a powder coating over it just to make it look more premium and more rugged. This is more design flair of being off-road and off-grid. Of course, these trailers don't have to go off-road. To me, it's just they're a better built trailer, period. A lot of people ask, do I have to take this off-road? No, absolutely. You never have to take it off-road, but it's built more, it's actually I would say it's built better than an Airstream, because we've had Airstreams and these Reboots are built way better. We recently had a customer in here that actually was looking at comparing Pauses versus Brooders, and they flew out to Texas to see the Brooders. When they came back to look at the Pause, they decided on the Pause because they thought the quality and the overall workmanship, craftsmanship of the trailer was superior. So that's saying something. I can say, as far as a manufacturer in America, I don't think anybody's doing it as well as Pause is. I do want to point out other things, like these latches right here are very nice and heavy duty. Sometimes if you go and look at a travel trailer, you're going to see these little latches. They're called butterfly latches. And these butterfly latches can run $2. These latches are much more expensive. You're going to see these latches anywhere from $10 to $15 a piece, and it does also have a metal backing right here, and same with down here. It's much more robust, so when you drop this down, it actually can slam. A lot of times I've seen these latches being plastic, and when you slam them, the backers actually break, which is crazy. Now, another thing is when you put this door up, there's a magnet piece there, so you're going to push that up and it just holds the door. A lot of trailers that you'll see, they have these little plastic clips, and they're just cheesy and cheap, and over time they deteriorate and just fall apart. These are just a few of many details. When you really get looking at these trailers, you wonder, where's the value? All of these things cost more money than a standard trailer that you're going to see built in the US, and that's where the value comes from, is quality and just the overall componentry. Now, this entire decking area and this fence that keeps you safe up on that deck is all built of aluminum, so it's not super hard and heavy to move around. Underneath here, we do have a bike rack, which I'll show that to you later on. And all of these little clips right here, these are clipping points where you could potentially, you know, clip on some stuff and just store some stuff there while you're at camp. Throw your towels, your, you know, your boots or whatever. Maybe you have some muddy boots and you don't want to bring them inside, you just leave them out there. Coming around here, I want to talk a little bit about the MoreRide suspension. This is a very innovative suspension, never before seen in America until they came around, started making this. And it's extremely robust. The Pause units have put this suspension through incredible torture tests. They actually go to a place called the Navistar, which the military sends their Humvees and all of their military vehicles through this testing facility. You can actually go to the other RV manufacturers at times have taken their stuff to the Navistar track to test out their trailers, but generally they have a trailer track and then they have the military track. Pause went there and said, hey, we don't want to do the trailer track. We want to go and do the military track tests. And they put this through, it was, you know, all technical equivalent of, you know, 10 years of use. They put this it was through constant torture tests. And the suspension, the first time they did it, they actually had some failures. So they took it back to engineering and they beefed it up, made it even stronger, more robust. So the suspension on this is very, very cool. Now, when I talked with Maynard, he said, you know, I looked all over the world. I looked at some of what were considered the best trailers out there. And he said, I got inspiration from them. And then I said, can we make it better? I mentioned earlier about the Brochure. You know, they claim this 12 inches of travel. So Maynard said, let's make ours 12 inches of travel. So we could be, you know, on the same par, if not better than anything else out there. So that's what they did. Now you have 4 independent A-arms. So this suspension is going to move and articulate independently of itself. And this creates for one of the most incredible rides for your trailer and your truck. So while you're towing this down the road, when you hit a bump, a lot of times if you've towed a standard travel trailer, you'll feel kind of a jostling where it kind of jolts you back and forth when you hit a bump. And the reason why is because most trailers are sitting on a solid axle with leaf springs. And that's the same technology that you see in the 1800s on horse and carriages, leaf springs and solid axles. So the technology hasn't advanced that much in the RV industry. This is what you're going to see in a brand new Cadillac or a fancy new truck with independent suspension. Your A-arms are going to move up and down and articulate. And you also have an air bag suspension on this. So you have the ability, when you get to camp, you'll be able to level side to side. And it just makes the whole camping experience really easy and frictionless. You just get to camp, press a button, and you're level and ready to go and enjoy yourself. Also, this suspension is paired with 8 Bilstein gas shocks. And also you have limiting cables that prevent it from overextending. And if you get this upgraded suspension, you'll also get the Wrangler DuraTrack made by Goodyear, and it is a 225/75 with a 16-inch rim. And this comes with a Dexter hub and brake assembly. So very reliable and very robust brake and hub system you have on this trailer. You also have the TPMS monitoring, so you can actually monitor your tire pressure while in transit, driving down the road. And of course you have the black aluminum rims, which just add to the beauty of this trailer. Now, it's talking about the beauty of the overall trailer. I do want to point out that this trailer has a tan color to it, and this is a matte tan. There are options when you order these trailers. There is we call it the Stealth Edition, and it's a charcoal gray color. And there is also a white, and it is a gloss gel coat white. And this is a fiberglass with an Azdel backing. And what does that mean? Let me explain. Generally, most trailers in America that you're going to see built are they don't even actually use an actual fiberglass. A lot of times they use what's called a FRP, which is a fiberglass reinforced plastic. So it's a thin piece of plastic woven with some fiberglass into it. And if you actually step back and look at the side of a trailer, go to a dealership lot, and you'll notice some trailers have this waviness to it, or you can get really close and you'll see speckles because you'll see all those little pieces of fiberglass woven into the plastic. And the diameter of that is about as thick as a credit card. And that's probably being generous. It's really quite thin. The thickness of this is more than double that. And it also is reinforced, not backing by wood, but by Azdel. So most of that fiberglass reinforced plastic is going to be have a backing of Luan, and it's going to be glued to the wood or the Luan. This is going to be backed with a Azdel backing, which is a synthetic material that does not rot. It can't actually have water intrusion into it, so it pretty much will last forever. Like, we've seen people have done tests where they throw a standard trailer wall into water and it gets warped and starts getting mold and mildew and swells up and just completely gets destroyed. And then you'll put the Azdel into a water and it will literally do nothing to it, and after being in for months or a year. Very, very good product, and that's very important for the longevity of your trailer. And if you want to learn more about these walls, we actually went out last year to the factory where the walls were built for all of these trailers, and it was pretty incredible, very eye-opening to see how walls are built. And you know, most walls in America on most travel trailers are done very poorly, and Pause has gone to a very premium factory that builds walls for $500,000 to $1 million motor coaches and high-end fifth wheels like the Brinkleys. And they do essentially the same type of material. They actually do something that's even better than most of the fifth wheels on the market. And what it is they put in this thermal barrier across the entire length of the wall. And this thermal barrier, it's a foam piece of insulation that goes across the entire length of the wall and covers up any type of aluminum stud from touching the exterior of this fiberglass and Azdel wall. So you essentially have a blockage so that you can't have thermal bridging through this wall and come into the trailer. The way this wall has been made is to prevent, not necessarily completely eliminate it, but to prevent that thermal bridging and that condensation that will just go straight through the wall. It essentially creates a barrier. And then inside of that barrier, you'll have aluminum studs and foam insulation in between each stud. And then on the interior of the wall, you also have fiberglass, which most standard trailers are going to put a paneling, a cheap piece of wood, and it's going to deteriorate and rot over time. So these walls are very, very premium walls. A lot of people sometimes are like, are those walls really good? As a matter of fact, somebody on Facebook recently was like saying, oh, those walls aren't going to be really good in cold weather. And he was a little disappointed from the previous Pause because they were using just one piece composite, and he thought this wasn't going to be as good. And later on, he reported back saying, hey, I took my camper out and I camped in it in, I think he said like 15 degrees, and he said it was nice and toasty. Now, all the reports that we're getting back from owners, my experience in camping in these things, the box of this trailer, the upstairs above the floor where you stay in, can go easily to 0 degrees. There's always variables in temperature, right? Like you have water tanks, you have water lines, there's weak points that potentially could freeze, but these are considered 4 seasons trailers. And we have people going into, 10 degrees and above having 0 issues, and they've just been thrilled with the actual insulation of the trailer itself. If you go below into single digits and into the zeros, those are really like go at your own risk. We do have people living in them and have been in temperatures below 0 degrees, but you're using more propane, you do have potential freeze hazards. What I would recommend if you're going to be using this trailer more for full time or going into extreme is getting some sort of skirting that would drop down, and it would prevent the cold air coming underneath your trailer. And that would help with any underbelly stuff. Now there is heated tanks, so you can turn on your heated tanks, and the heat is forced down into the underbelly to help prevent from the undercarriage getting frozen. But it's always good to have extra precautions when you're out camping, especially in those extreme temperatures. Okay, one of the things when Maynard wanted to bring this off-road trailer to America is he wanted to do something that was unique and never been done before. And that was going out and looking for the most premium components and pieces to put it together and make it. Generally, in Indiana, the RV industry goes and looks for the cheapest stuff yeah, there's a few out there that do nice stuff, but Maynard wanted to put everything premium, and that's why he started with MORryde, because MORryde is considered a more premium manufacturer than, say, a Lippert. And so he started with MORryde, and then when he got to the electrical components, he went with Garmin. Now, if you don't know anything about Garmin, when I first started working with them, to me, Garmin was just a GPS company. But Garmin is actually one of the most reputable companies when it comes to electronics componentry that controls airplanes, multi-million-dollar yachts, multi-million-dollar airplanes. Military uses Garmin. Garmin is a pretty robust system, and it has the ability to do pretty much anything you want it to do. And it has that customization to be able to control lights, electronics, your battery system. Now, Garmin is paired with Victron, which Victron is one of the best electrical components for RVs. It actually originally comes from the yacht or marine industry and has slowly made a transition into the RV world. Now, they haven't made a lot of success in the RV world because most RVs are cheap, but they've made headway into the off-road or overlanding off-grid community, because people, when you go off-grid, you want something that's reliable. And that's what all that Victron stuff that I was showing you early is, but it is all controlled through Garmin. Now, below this Garmin, I want to come down to the frame and point something out, because this is just something that I really appreciate, is this is made in America. That's important to you. If you are looking for made in America, well, as far as an off-road trailer that's made in America, I don't think there's a better one made in America right now than the Pause. There's been some that have tried, and some have done okay, some have failed. Pause is succeeding, and it's because they have the ability, they have the backing of Forest River or Berkshire Hathaway, which is a multi-billion-dollar company, and they have that ability to really support this trailer from actually getting off the ground and being really, really great. Now I want to show you something under here, which is new to 2025 models. Pretty excited about this. This is the new outdoor kitchen. This, we're gonna push these tracks down, and this is gonna slide on out. This may look a little high, and it is, but the trailer is still hooked up to my truck, which is lifted about 6 inches. And the tires are also in the halfway position. So when you get to camp, you unhook the truck and the trailer, you find your level site. This is actually gonna be quite a bit lower. And then you can adjust it with the suspension up and down to get to the correct height. But let me show you what we have going on in here. We do have a little cubby right here, and this is a faucet for the sink. This is your propane connection, and where this is going to get hooked up is you're going to have a quick connect there that you're going to be able just to plug that in, and then there's another connection right back here that you'll also be able to plug in. Now, when you get to camp, you're gonna grab this tray. You're gonna come, and this is going to slide into this slot, and it's gonna hold on right there. And then you're going to have a sink, and this pops down, and there is a little drain hole here that you can hook into to be able to have it drain down into a bucket. And then you're going to have your faucet over here that I was showing you, and then this lifts up here, and then you'll plug this in, and this actually does hot and cold water, and it's actually really easy to set up. You just plug it in and you just twist it. This is a European design that Maynard found and really liked it. Yeah, you know, one of the really cool things about Maynard is whenever he sees something that he thinks is really cool, he has incredible relationships with everybody in Indiana, and he just reaches out and said, hey, I just found this, here's some pictures of it, can you build that for me, can you make it here in America? Because a lot of times Maynard was saying one of the things that he wanted to do was he wanted to try to do as much of everything he could in America. So that's pretty cool. Right here you have an outlet, so if you are doing a whatever coffee pot, blender, you can throw it up here. This is a food grade cutting board, So you have the ability to work up here, use this as a prep space. This is a fridge and freezer. You also have these little dividers, and this can be turned on and you can adjust the temperatures and put your cold drinks in there, or put your steaks in there and grill your steaks on this Greystone. If you've never used Greystone, Greystone is a phenomenal product. You have your cooktop right here. And the thing that I appreciate about these is they have an incredible high BTU output. So you're gonna be able to cook eggs on this griddle. You're gonna be able to cook your pancakes, your steaks. It's going to grill and cook really, really fast. A lot of off-road trailers, they use this Dometic stove, and honestly, it's the worst stovetop I've ever used. Like, almost zero output. You can barely, if it's windy outside, good luck cooking one egg, let alone like a steak. Really great grill for your cooking. Okay, let's come back on over to the driver's side and let's talk about some of the things that we have over here. First of all, I want to point out this does have an onboard Truma, and then it is equipped with a 30 amp plug. So if you do go to a campground, you would want to get a 30 amp service, or if you were to plug it into a generator. Once again, everything runs completely off grid without any of those things. Obviously not forever, so at some point you will have to charge. Right here we have this aluminum ladder that goes all the way to the roof, and I love ladders that go to roofs because there's always a reason to get to your roof. You know, clean your solar panels, check your sills. Now coming over here, let me open up to show you, this is your water system. This is where you're gonna hook up your, you have an outside shower that you can plug into. And then you also have your city water and you have your black flush. So this right here, this is called a Nautilus P4. And essentially you change these valves to get to different features. So if you are going to a campground and you just want to plug in, you would go to city. So you would just adjust the white valve down and then these to the side, and you're on city water. Now, if you want to fill up your tanks, you would just adjust this guy down and then you'd fill up your tanks. And then when you're out off grid and you want to go dry camping, boom, boom, and now you're dry camping. Now, we at ROA Off-Road, we pride ourselves in doing the best handovers in the industry. That means when you come to pick up the trailer, we go over all of this stuff. As a matter of fact, we have a 1 to 2 hour video of every single one of our trailers. This is exclusive videos. They're not on YouTube. You can't watch them anywhere. They get sent privately to a person that's coming to pick up a trailer. We call them our roamers. So it's a exclusive roamer library that gets you access to not just features on the trailer, but actually how to use the trailer. And if you have issues with the trailers, troubleshooting. So we have that exclusive library for customers only, and we'll be able to get you very, very confident in using your trailer when you come to pick it up. Right here, this is your water heater. This is a Truma AquaGo, and this actually has a recirculating system. So it's an on-demand and instant hot water, which means when you turn on your tap, this engages immediately, and then you start getting hot water to your taps in your shower. This means you can run water forever. And if you go to a campground and you plug into your city water, you can take an hour-long shower because you can just have the water running through as if it was a house. Obviously, if you go off grid, you only have 65 gallons of water, so you gotta be limited on your showers. Now, something that I love about these Reboot trailers is the amount of storage you have. This is a massive, massive storage area. We have a light in here as well, and you can go all the way back here. The trailer comes standard with your 30 amp plug. And then over here, you have these briefcases, and these are the solar panels that you get that you can plug in on the exterior. You can see how big that is, and it doesn't even fill up that whole area. So this is huge. You could put some massive totes or storage bins in here and try to organize this to your liking. I want to talk a little bit about these extrusions up here. So these are aluminum extrusions. We do have that factory tour once again, so if you want to go check that out, we're going to put a tours down in the bottom of this video for the wall construction, the factory tour, so you can learn more in detail on all of the stuff that I'm talking about. But underneath this, you have a Turnabond tape, and a Turnabond tape is incredible. It really, like it says, eternity, like it's supposed to seal anything up and never leak. And that's actually behind this extrusion, and then this extrusion is placed over it. We had a trailer in the past where the extrusions on the exterior extended into the interior, and that was a nightmare because essentially it became a thermal bridge. I talk a lot about thermal stuff, right? Metal is a conductor. It conducts cold and heat through it. So if you have a metal extrusion on the exterior and it extends inside the trailer, that extrusion is going to, it essentially becomes a highway for hot and cold air to go in and out of your trailer. That is not how this is designed. This is purely cosmetic. The actual structure is behind this extrusion, and it actually meets at a point with the fiberglass, and it's all fastened there with the Turnabond tape. And then this is just put over as essentially a cosmetic to make it look pretty on the outside. But it's not structural and not going through inside to the trailer. That's very important to understand. Now, when you do get to camp and you want to unhook, you just press a button and that will extend the foot, and this will just lift right off of the truck. So before we lift it off, I'm gonna pull this so we can disconnect it from the actual hitch, and then let's lift it. So now that we've lifted this off the truck, I wanna point out some features on this hitch. And this hitch it's a one-of-a-kind hitch actually in the world. This is a 2 5/16 hitch. The ball is actually rated for 10,000 pounds. And this is a fully articulating hitch. And what that means is it goes side to side and up and down. Now, generally, when you're towing this trailer down the road in transit, you will have this all locked into place. And so it's going to tow very similar to any trailer that you'll ever own down the road. Now, when you get to off-roading, and if you're going to be going through some pretty rugged terrain and you're going to be going side to side and up and down, you want an articulating hitch. And the reason why is because think if you're driving down the road and you have camber and your truck goes to the left and your trailer goes to the right, well, there's going to be a lot of tension and something's going to break potentially. There's going to be a weak point that breaks. You're going to get a lot of frame flex in the trailer. So when you get to the off-road trail, you're going to pull this lever up, and then this is going to slide out, and then this hitch ball can actually move up and down. It can articulate. So if you're going down into a wash, it's going to go up. If you're going down a hill, it will go down. It will also move side to side like this, and that's for those camber movements, and back to this. Now when you get onto the highway, you can then push it back into that position or to camp. This is a very unique hitch, and it's not something that you're gonna see on any trailer. We actually have a lot of people ask, can I buy this hitch? The answer is no. This is exclusive to all of the Pause product, designed, engineered, and built for Pause. Coming over here, this front storage box is all built of aluminum. When you open it up, you do have your 2 20-pound propane tanks as well as your air tank. Now this air tank is what controls your airbags, but you can also use it to pump up anything. You could use it to pump up your tires on your vehicle. You could use it to pump up bicycle tires, rafts, whatever you want. Now up here we have another storage compartment with just some extra little storage, which these are some of your mechanisms, and that's for your jacks for stabilizing and putting down and having your trailer just more stable when you're at camp. So when you get to camp, essentially, you're gonna unhook the truck, move the truck forward, you're gonna drop the tongue down to wherever level is. You're gonna then go in, use the Garmin system, and you can use it on your phone. There's an app. You're gonna open the Garmin and you're gonna level side to side. And then once you're all level, you will then drop your 4-point stabilizer jacks, and then that will allow you to just be completely stable. Another thing that I want to point out is you do have your sewer hose storage container. You don't need to throw that in a compartment or anything. You have a spot to keep that all by itself, because let's be real, do you really want your sewage hose slinky in with your kitchen? You know, like, this is the back side of the kitchen. You don't want to put it in there. So keep it in its own little spot and everybody will be much happier. Now I want to talk about these windows. These windows are a polycarbonate window. Polycarbonate, a lot of people ask, why polycarbonate? Is that plastic? Why not glass? Well, glass is brittle, it's fragile. Throw a baseball at that, it's gonna shatter. You're going off-road, you know, potentially, even if you're not going off-road, say you're just at a park and kids are throwing baseballs. Polycarbonate actually, in the same diameter as glass, has a 200 times stronger break resistance. So this is much stronger than glass, and it is dual pane, so it does give you the benefits of having that thermal barrier for better heating and cooling no matter what you're doing during the year. Now, before we walk inside, I'm going to show you a few more things. You see we have the stereo speakers up there. You can also hook into that with Bluetooth. This door handle, this is a really heavy duty bus type of door. If you've ever seen these doors, this latching mechanism is very, very robust. This is similar to what you're gonna see on very high-end motor coaches. Now, before I go inside, I wanna point out, we do have some lights. There's your light right there. You also have an additional, you have an awning that comes out. And on this awning, you have awning lights. Also, this door light right here is a white light, but if you're trying to avoid the bugs coming in your door, you can turn it off and turn on an amber or a yellow light. And of course, the yellow lights deter the bugs much more than the white lights. And then this is just a really cool area. Check it out. Look at the view. We're hanging out at camp, at the beach, in the mountains, wherever you are. You have some nice shade. I like this little flap. Those are pretty cool. I think it just kind of adds to the look of the overall awning. Something else that I want to point out about these awnings that you don't see with a lot of awnings is these newer awnings have a center post. And so that center post down the middle, it actually kind of gives a pitch to the awning. So the water is going to run off more like your house. Now, if you've ever owned a camper, sometimes when it rains, the water can actually get puddled in that middle part and it actually sags. And so it starts sagging and then could rip the awning, or, you know, you have to hit it and to splash it off. So that little pitch is just a nicer feature of these new awnings. And in the front, you have some nice LED lights as well as in the rear. So when you're out enjoying that deck, you got a light back there as well. Before we head on inside, I want to point out these stairs, because these are very cool stairs. Why I like them so much is because they're a huge platform, so kind of have a more residential size. Of course, you have the grip tape as well. They're all aluminum, so they're not very heavy. They go up and completely out of the way and lock in here. And of course, if you're off-roading, that just gives you an incredible amount of clearance. Also underneath the underbelly, everything is protected. You have a metal sheet that covers all your water tanks. Of course, your water tanks are heated and insulated. So this is all 4 seasons to keep all of that cold air out from penetrating inside. Besides these stairs, there's also stairs at the back of the trailer that we showed in the beginning that go up to the deck. The whole thing disassembles. That handrail goes up. The fencing will drop down on the deck, and then it shuts up into the trailer. And then you also have that very cool bike rack that you can put bicycles or other cargo on. And then of course you can lift that up out of the way. It is pretty heavy, so it's good to have an extra hand to help you lift that up. We've been looking at trying to do a mod to make it easier, but let's now head on inside. Here we are inside. This is so cool, and it never gets old. To have a view like that right outside is just spectacular. You know what? I don't even know what descriptive adjective I need to say to describe this, but please make a comment below. We take this trailer to shows, and it is probably one of the most hypey trailers at the show. People walk by and are just always, whoa, wow. So if you do want to be the envy of the neighborhood, this trailer is going to definitely do that for you. So since we're back in the dinette area, I want to talk a little bit about this. Of course, this table will drop down, and it will give you a booth bed area. Now, I really appreciate these setups. One of the things that I really like about these cushions that Maynard has made is they can go this way, so you can sit and lounge. Now, of course, if you close up the whole back side, you then turn these around, and then you turn them into a backwards lounging area. I'm gonna actually close up this back door and kind of show off how that works. Okay, we just put that thing up. As you can see, even if you have it all closed up in here, this thing has amazing amounts of windows all the way around. It's just incredible. I'm still like, the deck is closed, but sitting here, I'm just blown away. In every direction, I have views, I have mountains, I have lake. It's beautiful in here. I mean, I know camping is all about being outside, but I could just sit in here and enjoy this. It's like very cold outside, windy, probably 30 degrees. So it's nice to be inside, but still enjoying this beautiful scenery. Things that I want to point out, this has the solid surface countertops. It's an acrylic material, feels very premium, looks like real stone. Coming over here, I want to point out we have some outlets. You have your USB ports and then standard 120 volt outlets. This thing has incredible lighting. You have the can lights in the cabinetry. You have them on both sides. You also have the rope lights above. And then of course we have rope lights down along the floor as well. If this outlet's not enough for you, right here, we have an additional outlet as well as a 12 volt plug. Now right here, this is our sensors for our Truma and our Garmin. And then over here, we have the actual Truma controls. This has both your furnace and your hot water heater integrated into it now. Previously, in the last year model, you had separate controls, and now they've integrated it all into one control. So it's little details that they're constantly always improving and adding updates to. Another upgrade that we've seen is when they originally released the Reboot from the Pause, they wanted something a little bit more at a easier to swallow price point, I should say, is because the Pause lineups, I mean, the MSRPs are like 160 grand. That's not necessarily what you buy them for. You can get them for less. If you do some shopping, reach out to us. We are very competitive in our pricing. Most of our manufacturers require us to list everything at our MSRP, but we price match and are very competitive. And the value that you get with ROA is bar none. Nobody is going to do the things that we do, from the walkthroughs to all the way your entire ownership, the life of your ownership. We do rallies, we do adventures, we go to Baja, Mexico and Moab. And to me, the most important thing about owning a camper is that you use a camper, and ROA, we facilitate ways for you to use that camper, but we also try to give good value in everything that we do, including our pricing. Reach out to us for actual pricing, and of course build sheets. Like, you can get them as low as $80,000-$90,000 depending on how you option it. If you go fully loaded, it can get over 100K. But they have made improvements. One of the things that they wanted to save money on was the cabinetry. The aluminum cabinetry was very expensive, and so they went to a wood cabinetry. But I didn't want to just see a standard cheap American cabinetry that you see in every travel trailer. So we asked, could we have it a little bit more modern, more sleek design? And so they did get us this really cool curved cabinetry. They released these. At first there were some issues. They kind of dialed it all in, and now everything is actually working really, really well. Also, another thing is they updated the latches. So the original latches were plastic. They found this really nice heavy duty metal latch, and it just feels so premium. I think We saw these in an Earth Roamer. So you're talking $1 million to $2 million RV, right? Or trailer. And so they found this, and now you just pull it up and it just feels super robust. You have these hinges that hold everything up. So it's really important when you have any type of trailer, whether you're driving on the highway or you're going off-road, you know, when you put things in these cabinets, things can hit the cabinets and they can fly open. Of course, that doesn't happen here, because if you look at this latch, when you engage the latch, you can see it, this pops out, that metal piece, and it will lock to this. So we open it, and when we engage it, there's no way for this door to open. One of my worst camping experiences, I was actually on a relay bike race from Salt Lake City to St. George, Utah. That's the hundreds of miles. And we were driving an RV down there, took a sharp turn, cabinet door open, entire jar of pickle juice flew out, shattered. Besides the glass getting everywhere and that being dangerous, the rest of the trip and for weeks following, the entire camper smelled like pickle juice. And it is, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible situation. Wasn't fun, didn't enjoy it. These types of things make it so you never have that issue. Now, if you want to see like a visual, like from a different perspective where you're almost like in my eyes, go down below and there's a video that's called Never Before Seen View, or POV. And Randy did that view of this trailer. It's a really cool vantage point that you might enjoy, but it is an older model. So this is a brand new 25. But I just want to open these cabinets for you so you can see how much storage is in this trailer. It's incredible how much storage you have throughout this entire trailer. Down here, once again, you have your lights. You also have speakers for your stereo system that you can connect on Bluetooth. You may not notice this, but we do. So originally when they were coming out with these hinges, they had a different hinge. They also only used one screw. They've gone to a more heavy duty, more robust hinge. They've also added 4 screws opposed to 2 screws. They've also widened the actually backing where this is screwed on. So these are all the little details that you might not notice if you're just looking at the trailer, but you know, from customer feedback, from issues, these are the updates that they've made that are really important. And for you as the end user, that's extremely important. Don't know if you know this, but a random fact is that most manufacturers design and build trailers to last 3 to 5 years. They expect that the trailers will start to deteriorate, fall apart, and the average lifespan of a trailer is just over 10 years by the time where it's going to end up in a landfill. That's insane to me. And so a lot of times manufacturers in the US, they'll just make it as cheap as they can. If it falls apart, if things start to break, if latches aren't working, it doesn't really matter. They're gonna just get rid of it in a few years and then it's gonna end up in the dump. With Maynard and Pause, the team at Pause, they want these trailers to last way longer than that. They want this trailer to last potentially a lifetime if you want it, right? And so that's why they're making improvements down the line. They're not just shipping out and saying that's good enough. And I love that. Maynard has really always been, hey, good enough is not good enough. We have to make it the best in the US.
Well, I mean, one thing that I learned soon when I started researching the overland market is the overland, they don't just build it good enough, they build it better than you need.
Yeah.
And that's what this frame is, you know. We didn't just build it so it's good enough, we built it above and beyond.
Yeah. That's definitely something he truly tries to live by. Let's look at more cabinetry up here. Now, another cool feature that sometimes you don't get in lots of trailers is this is a panel, backing panel. It is actually, this one's actually screwed. And then you have that ability to pull that out and access your wiring back there. Once again, when you think about it, if the trailer's only made for a few years, they don't always put the attention to detail to getting access points to fix your trailer. Before we move into the kitchen, I want to also touch on the storage under here. So we have cushions and these have been Velcroed to the wall. Another detail that I want to point out is they've actually put fasteners in this, 4 to be exact, and then they've sewed these to the pillows. You might think, so what's the significance in that? Well, previously they weren't screwing them to the walls, and so they would put a stick on, and then when it got hot outside, it would melt, it would fall down, or sometimes the Velcro was too strong and it would just rip the whole thing off the wall. So it's a nice little touch. It's a detail that as an owner, you're going to experience. And yeah, no, it's not the end of the world, but it's a little frustrating. But I'm going to pull this up really quick and show you what we have under here, because this trailer has tons and tons of storage. So this comes up and it is massive. Look at that. The entire length of this booth is nothing but storage. Obviously, the things that you're not using as frequently, you can easily put in there. And also, I really appreciate that it's all aluminum. These are the areas where manufacturers will go cheap. And trust me, 2x1, a little, furring strips and wood is going to be a lot cheaper than doing aluminum. Also, this could be plywood, but they've done a nice finish on this wood, and it's not going to give you slivers or anything like that, or tear up your cushions, which a lot of times you'll see manufacturers do that. They don't really put a lot of thought into this type of stuff. So I want to talk about these windows. These are a dual pane window, and they're actually quite wide. These have really good insulative properties, and I'm just saying this from experience because I've slept in a lot of trailers. I actually have lived in trailers for multiple years of my life through the middle of winter too. And so I have a lot of experience with cold weather and just living in trailers in general. Most windows are going to be metal, some type of aluminum frame. So these windows are all polymer, plastic. So even the frames here and all the way around, this is all plastic and polymer. Now, I talked earlier about thermal bridging and talked about how metals are conductors, right? Of cold and hot. Also, condensation is attracted to metals because generally condensation happens from when the interior and the exterior are different temperatures. That's like why you grab a soda can and it will start, you think it's not leaking soda out of the can, it's just the condensation is going to it because inside the can it's cold soda and it's hot outside. So you have all that moisture that gets sucked to that metal and you get a lot of moisture and condensation. And this is an issue if you're in trailers, you'll experience this. But because of these polymers, opposed to aluminum, you don't experience it as much. It's almost impossible to completely eliminate condensation. Even in your house, you have condensation on a cold winter day. And if it's heated inside, sometimes you can get fogging on your windows. But the materials really make a difference in cold weather. And that's something that the Pause has done that nobody else has done it quite to the level that they have. These are way better. And people that actually own the trailers, camp in them, they've experienced a lot less condensation than any other trailer. Now, these windows, the way they work, they have these little buttons you got to push and open up. And then this will go up and it has a few different points. Point 1, and then it goes up again. There's another, and then the final, and you have a straight out view. So that's another unique thing about these windows. I've never seen a window that goes up, opens all the way up to that straight level. So you can just see straight out the window. There's no obstruction of your view. Of course, you can pull these screens down, and this is a super, super fine screen. Never heard any complaints about these screens with bugs getting into them. And then of course you have a blackout that you can lift up and have it nice and dark during the night. You bring that back down. But once again, these have a really nice gasket, and because this material is all plastic, it's just really, really good for hot and cold. You're not gonna have as much heat and cold coming through all of this window. A lot of people, honestly, if you're just camping, on the weekends, you just might not even notice these things. Now, we don't recommend you live in a trailer, nor does the manufacturer. Technically, you're not supposed to live in trailers. Every trailer manufacturer will tell you, if you read all the fine print, technically you're not supposed to live in them, but people do anyway. It's kind of like at your own risk. But these are things that make a big difference. Like really, really, really makes a big difference. You're gonna use less heat and less cooling. Now, look, we got more outlets right here in the kitchen where you need it, or if you're just lounging here, you can plug in your cell phones. Let's move over here to the fridge. This fridge right here is made by Victron, and it is massive. I love these fridges. I've not had any issues with these. Just like anything in the world, there can always be issues, but I've had good luck with these. They cool really well, and like this freezer is massive. I don't know if you can really see. I mean, that goes into my forearm. This one, like my entire, beyond my elbow. Like, this is a crazy large fridge. One of the reasons why it's so large is because it's not run by propane. The most standard fridge in the RV industry is a propane refrigerator. And behind that propane refrigerator is a pilot light. So there's a flame on the back of your fridge. And it's always running, and it has some chemicals that create the refrigeration, and then it drops down. Super efficient. And for a long, long time, and still to this day, most travel trailers made in America are using a propane refrigerator. They are also the culprit in most fires in trailers. There's no flame behind this fridge, so therefore there's no fire behind this fridge. This is purely battery operated. Now, in most trailers, that's not possible. And the reason why it's not possible is because most trailers have weak batteries. Underneath here, we have 1,080 amps of lithium Battleborn. Now, you may be wondering, what is 1,080 amps of lithium? Well, if you wanted to go and get a comparable battery bank on a travel trailer, you would be looking at upwards of 20 to 24 batteries, and you're talking anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 pounds of weight in just batteries. That's insane. So like the battery technology in electric vehicles, and now moving into trailers and campers, at least off-grid campers, is 10 times more superior than what you're going to get even on some Airstreams. If you go out and just get a regular Airstream without any lithium upgrades, you're going to get one of these standard batteries that I'm talking about, that you would need 24 of those batteries to match this battery bank. So why I'm talking about this and why it's so important is it gives you the ability to run 12-volt refrigerators and not really be an issue. It gives you the ability to run your air conditioner off grid. And also your solar is able to charge. You can bring in more power from solar to run this fridge indefinitely. So it doesn't really matter. You don't need to go to a propane fridge. Now let's head over into the kitchen area. I want to point some things out over here. Once again, we have these solid surface Corian countertops. This is an upgrade. You can choose to have just Formica, which is a little bit cheaper and lighter. But once again, this is just so beautiful and premium. You have your sink right here, and this is a stainless steel sink. And then you have a cutting board right here and a residential spray nozzle, hot and cold faucet, of course. Lighting, once again, it's really nice to have some light right in the kitchen. Moving over to here, we have our stove hood vent fan. So this is a fan and also a light. And this is filtered, and it does go to the exterior. And some manufacturers, they don't think about those little details. And it just seems silly to me, is because you got to have a hood vent fan in your kitchen if you're cooking. Now up here, we do have some more storage. Once again, another access panel. Something that Pause and Forest River have done recently is they've added this 800 number for complimentary 24/7 roadside assistance and troubleshooting. This is really cool. Lots of manufacturers do not do this. The CEO and founder of Forest River did pass away recently, and the people that have taken it over really actually are trying to do things right. I know a lot of people are going to be like, whatever, da da da, Forest River's terrible. Forest River, or Berkshire Hathaway, is a massive company, and they own probably over 100 divisions. Pause is its own division, and they pretty much work completely independent of themselves. Like, right, it's almost like their own manufacturer. And Forest River is pretty good about when they open a division, they let that company run as if it was its own company, and they don't really get too much into the business, I cannot say enough good things about the service from Pause. The warranty, all the people in the production, Maynard, obviously, the whole entire team at Pause have always been so good to us, and they're so good to the customers that own the trailers. And that's rare in the industry. All of the manufacturers currently that we're carrying are that way. And that's something that's super important for us as we work with manufacturers. That's one of the things we vet out. If they're not standing behind the product, if they're not doing warranty, we slowly part ways with them because we don't want to work with people that don't care about people. Pause definitely cares about people. Now, let's look at the drawers here. This is your TPMS. This is your tire pressure monitoring systems. I pointed that outside. This is so you can hook it up to your vehicle. And then of course you have a remote for your television, which I'll show you in a bit. This is a very good amount of storage. Everything is lockable, so it can't fly open while you're driving. And then of course, let's look in here. You have some good storage, top to bottom. And then everything is on soft close too, which I really love the soft close stuff. Below the stovetop, we have our Greystone microwave, and this is a convection oven. So this actually will bake. So you can turn this to a temperature and you can actually set your temperature, whatever, 390 degrees, 250, and it will actually heat up and it will actually bake just like an oven. I have one of these at my house and I love it. Sometimes I'll like microwave it for a little bit just to defrost it, and then I'll bake it so it gets nice and crispy like an oven, but doesn't take as long as an oven. But if you don't want to microwave it, you don't have to. You can just bake it. So these are some of your goodies that come with Pause, and you have owner's manuals, bunch of different goodies in there that come with the trailer. Now, I appreciate mirror. We got a mirror right here. This is nice. This is a touch. Makes the trailer feel a lot bigger. And you can do your hair, do your makeup, whatever. There's also a mirror in the bathroom, which I'll get to in a little bit. Lots of trailers don't have mirrors in the bathroom, and that drives me freaking bananas. I don't understand why you would have a bathroom without a mirror. I mean, I know my wife appreciates having a mirror, but what's actually really cool is if we both need to get ready, I have a mirror and she has a mirror. So I don't look at the mirror that much, but you know what I mean. Anyway, right here, I want to point out the air conditioning system. This is a Truma. This is a 13,500 BTU Truma. This is a phenomenal air conditioner, and it is super quiet. On high, it blows. It's not way quiet. When you get the trailer to temp and you put it on low, it is very quiet. You can run the TV at a decent volume and the air conditioner won't be overpowering the television. So some AC units, it's ridiculous. Like, they're so loud you can't even turn on the TV and watch at the same time, which is crazy. These are also one of the most efficient air conditioners on the market. There's a few out there, but this one, all the research I've done, it is one of the best, the Aventa by Truma. Also, the heater system is the VarioHeat, and that is all ducted throughout the trailer and also into the underbelly, so you have that heated system. That is if you opt to get the 4 Seasons package. There is a version, the cheapest of this model is not 4 Seasons, and it has a different furnace system. So just keep that in mind. Now, there's something really cool over here, and it's gonna take a little bit for me to show it off. So come on over and let's do this. This is the Garmin system that I mentioned earlier. This system is very cool. So this is your homepage, which shows you all your essentials that you need to see right off the bat. You can control your air fan, you can control your AC, you can control all your lights. So now I can go through, scan through this and work different lights independently. Let's try a living room, right? I can hit that and it gives me a dimming option, so I can dim the living room lights, or I can turn on the exterior lights on and off. You can just hit this and it goes all on, all off. You go through here, you have your water indicators, fresh, gray, black. You have tank heaters, you have your water pump, you have your water heater, and then of course your solar system. This is all Victron. You can control the input of how much power is coming in from shore power. The reason why you would want to do that is, say you have a smaller generator, and if you plug it in and you tell it to pull 30 amps, it's going to try to pull a ton of power and it will maybe blow the breaker on your generator. Or blow the breaker in your house if you're plugged into a teeny little outlet. Of course, you can continually pull power from the solar panels. The sun is now set, we're not getting solar anymore, but you can be pulling power both from shore and from solar at the same time to be charging your batteries. And then right here, this is your auxiliary. So that's your extra solar panels that you would plug in on the exterior. And then of course we have our air suspension. So this gives us the ability to go driver or passenger side and adjust the trailer from side to side. All of this is also a feature that you can download on your phone and be able to connect and run all of these things on your phone. So if you're driving down the road, you can come in here, you can turn your inverter on, you can come right here, kick on your air conditioner, say you're like, hey honey, you know, maybe you're driving through Vegas and you want to stop for a quick lunch break, but it's 110 degrees outside. Hey, it looks like our stop's in 10 or 15 minutes. Let's crank on that air conditioner before we stop. You can do that while you're driving down the road, crank on the AC, pull into the rest stop, and not die in here in a little hot box. So cool features on this. Coming down here, let's point out we have also a lot of switches, and so a lot of these switches actually control the same things as the Garmin. So you just have a secondary switch. So if you don't want to go up to the Garmin screen or pull out your phone, you can just hit these switches right here quickly. Also, we got more outlets right next to the kitchen area. Pause has tons of outlets, and you have the new USB-Cs and the standard old USB outlets, as well as your 120 outlet. Now coming over to the bedroom area, we have another switch that turns on and off the lights. You have a nice little cubby area down here just for some miscellaneous storage. You also have your fire extinguisher for safety down at the foot of the bed, right next to the entry door. Now moving up here, we do have a good amount of storage that you can open up and access. And these are pretty deep, probably over a foot. And believe it or not, but our GM out in South Carolina, this is where he stores his fishing poles. So you can do whatever you want. Personally, that sounds disgusting to me. I would put my clothing up there above my bed, but you know, you can do whatever you want. If you're from the South, maybe, sorry, not to offend anybody from the South. I'm just joking. I'm just giving Randy a hard time. So Maynard actually camped in the very first 17.4 for over a month, probably a month, with his wife, traveled all over the US. And while they were out camping, they just found a lot of things that they wanted to improve. One of them is he wanted coat hooks, so they added the coat hooks. Another one of them was, you know, charging ports. So over here, he added a dual charging port for USB-C and the standard USB. Also, you got outlets over here. We have a nice window right here. And of course, nice sunset. Very beautiful. You also have a window up here, as well as your blackout shades for sleeping at night. And then this is a standard queen size bed. So if you wanted to do your own mattress, you could, but this is a pretty comfortable mattress. And then lastly, you have this TV. It is a smart TV, so you can plug in your favorite TV shows via Netflix or whatever and be able to watch it on this. And that's an awesome TV to watch while in bed, just saying. But if you do want to go back to the kitchen area or to the booth area, this is a very large TV, and you can lounge at your dinette area and be able to watch your favorite TV shows. A lot of people say, why would you be watching TV or movies while you're out camping? Sometimes it's just cold outside and you want to get away from the freezing cold, or it's raining. And I as a family, generally the adults stay up till late talking around the campfire, sometimes 10, 11, midnight. And my daughter needs to come in and go to bed, but sometimes it gets cold and she wants to come in and, I don't know, watch a movie and have a good time too. And I don't care what you say. Sometimes I think it's magical watching a movie in the camper in the middle of the woods. It's a fun thing to do, especially if it's a scary movie, you know, something with like werewolves in the woods. Then it makes the whole trip exciting. Of course, I've left the grand finale for the end. This is something that I love, is the bathroom. And I say I love this because when you tent camp for years, there's two things that you get sick of. One is actually the bed, sleeping on the ground. And the other one is going doo-doo in the woods and not showering for days. So here we have a beautiful porcelain toilet. No doo-doos in the woods here. This is a fancy, very high-end premium toilet. It's elevated, perfect for sitting on and doing whatever you need to do. I will admit this is a tight space. I'm a big guy. I'm 270 pounds. So it's a little tight, but the alternative is going in the woods, digging a hole. What do you want to do? You want to dig a hole or you want to go in here, right? And there's plenty of space to do your wiping business. Not the biggest bathroom in the world, but come on, we're out camping. I think it's awesome. And this nice sliding door is also cool, and it latches shut with a metal latch, not some silly clip. Of course, we have a towel rack, which is also another detail that Maynard added. You have your towel racks for hand towels. We have some storage in here. We also have a max fan. These things are incredible. They put the airflow in and out. Really, like if you're showering, it's gonna eliminate this from actually all fogging up because this fan is so powerful. Love the new fixtures, all black. And then of course you have your light in here and an outlet for whatever you need. Coming down here, we do have a little bit of storage. This one you can access pretty easy. This one doesn't open up all the way because it gets that toilet, but you can reach in there, some toilet paper or something in there. Now, the last thing and the final thing, everybody always wants to know if you can drop a bar of soap and pick it up while you're in the shower. I will admit the shower is a little bit tighter than most, but let's demonstrate. I've never done this in this trailer, I don't think. So make it into my bar soap. Here goes the bar of soap. Okay, we drop the bar of soap. Oh shoot. It's gonna be, like bending straight down is gonna be tough. You know, doing a squat and bending down, yeah, that's gonna be hard, but it's manageable. Once again, your alternative is don't shower and poop in the woods. I'm gonna choose this 10 out of 10 times. But yeah, this is a great little bathroom and a great little shower, and it's very manageable. Also, I'm 6 feet tall, and I'm not even hitting with the elevated tub and shower. I'm not hitting this. There is a dome above my head, and that works. When I step down 6 feet, you have like 6'6" ceilings in here. So basketball players, this will be a dream till you hit that on your head. If you're like 7 feet tall, maybe you won't like it, but there you have it. This is the all new Reboot. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something. I just want to end with saying, you know, ultimately the main reason why you buy a trailer is to go out camping. If you want to be a part of a community of campers, adventurers, come to ROA. We have the most incredible owners. We have an owner group where you can be a part of, and you can come on rallies, you can come on adventures. We do things that nobody else does in the industry, and we do that because we want to make sure people that are buying these campers are actually going out and using them, because that's the reason why you buy a camper. You don't buy a camper to let it sit next to your driveway. Also, you know, if this is the trailer that you're looking for, Pause and the group at Pause, they're incredible people. They really care about what they're doing. If you're interested, go down below. We do have a brochure. There'll be more information, specs on that. We also have factory tours on how everything is built. So go check those out. Come to one of our experience centers or one of the events that we'll be at this year. We are doing a tour all over the United States. We'll be in Florida this year, California, Oregon, Virginia. We have our stores, our experience centers in South Carolina, Utah, Colorado Springs, and Mesa, Arizona. So if you want to see one of these in person, just reach out to us. The numbers are below to all of our stores. Reach out to the store nearest you or just send us a text. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you learned something. Have a wonderful day. I am going to turn around and enjoy this sunset. This is incredible. I actually hadn't looked at it until just now. This is beautiful. And this is why we camp. This is why we do what we do, because this right here, this is beautiful. Look at the ice in the lake too. Come look at the ice down here. You got to see this. This is crazy. Look at this. This is like mountains of ice. That is so cool, huh? Oh boy. Well, hope to see you on a Roamer adventure someday. Talk to you later. Bye.